Thank you so much, everyone, for joining our Upgrade Final Showcase. We're really excited to see what everyone's been working on this past summer. We're going to start off with just a few opening remarks, and then we'll move on to our team presentations. We'll start with Lunar Learners, move on to UXcelerator, then to Fantastic Four, to Tailblazers, to Figcation, and wrap it up with Sweetmates. And we'll share a few closing remarks at the end, too. And as always, make sure to follow us on all of our socials to stay updated with us on there. So starting off with opening remarks. Again, thank you guys all so much for being here. We're just going to start off by sharing the origin story of our summer rope program and the past history. So we started from level up to power up to build up to summer up and now into upgrade. Our first summer up series, which was level up, which connected motivated design students with industry professionals to develop innovative solutions for challenges. We had 20 students, 10 design mentors, and 7 workshops in our first summer up program. The next year, Design co-hosted Power Up, which is a design and marketing DEI program partnering with BIPOC-owned and minority-owned small businesses to craft sustainable designs and deliverables for long-term impact. And for that program, we had 25 students, 14 design and marketing industry mentors, 5 small businesses, 14 workshops, 9 of which of those were mentor workshops, and 3 DEI events. And then we had Build Up, which was a 10-week design and marketing DEI program partnering with nonprofit organizations. And this program had 33 students, 16 design and marketing industry mentors, 6 local nonprofits, 14 workshops, and of those, 8 of them were mentor workshops, as well as 2 DEI events. We also had Summer Up, which was a 10-week design and marketing internship program partnering with nonprofit organizations of education, animals, and community. And for this program, we had 10 weeks, 50 plus students, 9 local nonprofits, 3 themes, 12 design and marketing industry mentors. Last year, we had the Upgrade program, which was a 10-week design and marketing internship program partnering with nonprofit organizations of sustainability, education, and community. This was also 10 weeks and had 54 students, 7 local nonprofits, 3 themes, and 7 design and marketing industry mentors. And for this year, we piloted our Upgrade program that you guys all had a chance to participate in. This was a 10-week summer design program where student teams were paired with an industry professional to act as their mentor. And in our Upgrade program this year, we had 10 weeks, 42 students, 6 industry professionals and mentors, 7 industry workshops, and 6 design prompts.
Okay, awesome. Now on to team presentations. So, like Joyce mentioned earlier, the order of the presenters we'll have Lunar Learners up first, and then UXcelerator, Fantastic Four, Tailblazers, Figcation, and Sweetmates. And so each team will have about 7 to 10 minutes to present, and I'll also be keeping time in the chat. So I'll give you guys all a 3-minute warning, and then again at like the 10-minute mark when it's time to wrap up. And then after everyone's presentations, we'll have 3 minutes for open floor feedback. So if any mentors or other upgraders have any questions, comments, or just want to share your praises with the team, this would be the perfect time to do that. Okay, so first up, we have Lunar Learners. This team, we had the upgraders Marty as our project manager, Andrea as our UI UX designer, Caleb as our visual designer, Shannon and Andrew as our UX researchers, Annika for our product marketing manager, and Kathy as our software engineer. And then these upgraders were mentored by Alan. So whenever you guys are ready, you can go ahead and have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll start. So we are the Lunar Learners, and our project was to create an Autumn Moon Festival for San Diego. So our challenge was to create a multicultural Autumn Moon Festival website with an emphasis on education and spreading awareness across different ways cultures celebrate. With this in mind, our goals were to create an educational and visually appealing site that uplifts the autumn moon traditions of various cultures and bring awareness to those traditions with sincerity, sensitivity, and respect.
And so with that, we started our research process. Next slide, please. Actually, 2 slides.
Sorry. There.
One more slide, please. So with the framing of creating and bringing education on the festival for the San Diego Asian community, we were asking ourselves who celebrates what exactly and how do they do that? And are we trying to focus on one festival or many different forms of it across different cultures? So we set up our research process with the primary data collection in explanatory research structure to help us map out existing landscape and also serve as recruiting method to gain leeway to users in this tight timeline. And we also had secondary research with Gemini deep dive research and competitive analysis going on in the same time. Next slide, please. And so we started out with our survey. We deployed it to the NPOs in the San Diego area, and we got an impressive N equals to 129, really impressive. And it helped us unveil trends, cultural practices, site expectations. It also helped us, most importantly, concretize user cultural groups and learn that it's not just one festival, and it's actually a lot across different cultures that we want to emphasize. Next slide, please. So we followed that up with the user interview. We were able to do 6 N equals to 6 and plugged it into Dovetail for QDA and helped us confirm trends, collect personal anecdotes, and dive deeper into the cultural practices that we were trying to include. Next, please. And the Gemini deep dive research was really important to us because it helped us understand the risk of tokenism and cultural inauthenticity that we would risk, and provided human-centered design guidelines in designing with multicultural and understanding without superficial display or content. Next slide, please. And so we synthesized our findings in a report, and we had concretized design decisions and also strategic how may lead statements. And I want to mention the impact of our research this time was that really helped us hone in on human-centered cultural research and making sure we have human collaboration and co-creation every step along the way that would otherwise be AI and non-authentic.
Yeah, so now moving on to our competitive analysis, we looked at the 3 different websites, including the SF Chinatown Autumn Moon Festival, Chinese New Year Festival, and the Tacoma Moon Festival. And from all of these websites, we really focused on their visuals and media, educational content, navigation, cultural representation, visual identity, and interactivity to see how we could use these different features to make our own website stand out. And we found that a lot of opportunities, especially lied in the navigation, making it accessible, and also including interactive elements that helped our users learn a lot more about the Autumn Moon Festival. Next slide, please. So now moving on to some market insights. We have the TAM, SAM, and SOM. So this focuses on our total addressable market, serviceable addressable market, and serviceable obtainable market. And we found that our specific audience that we catered a majority of our site to, especially based on our user responses in our survey and also the interviews we conducted with different stakeholders, was that our primary audience is 18 to 24-year-old students in the San Diego area, specifically those who go to UCSD who want to learn more about the festival. Next slide, please. And then also based off this, we created a persona that kind of pinpointed the pain points and goals and the needs of our site. And we found that a lot of the students feel disconnected from their cultures and want to learn more about how they can celebrate it, especially when they're away from home and maybe attending university far away. And so what they need is essentially our site, which is a reliable and interactive source that offers cultural knowledge and helps people connect more with how they can celebrate their heritage.
So to begin our design process, we started with an information architecture in the form of a user flow chart. Our user flow chart maps out the entire site, but focuses mainly on the educational content. In our first iteration, it was just a learn more page. And in our final iteration, it turned into an entire learn about AMF section with a landing page and different pages that showcase each culture's different festival and traditions.
Right, this is the festival information section. In the lo-fi, we included pages like visitor info, vendor details, the schedule. And one of the main problems we noticed was that the same information, like the date, time, and location, showed up on multiple points of the homepage. So we felt that this information was very repetitive. And next slide, please. Here we removed a lot of that repetition. So on the homepage, we left it with just a mission statement and a photo gallery. And we still have the page for visitor information, and users can navigate to that through the nav bar. And we added entry points in the homepage, like buttons in the header to go to the visitor and vendor information. And under the mission statement, there's also a button that links directly to the educational section. Next slide, please. So these are our educational sections, and this is the main focus of our site.
In the Lo-Fi, we tried out two different versions, and the first one had a dedicated landing page, and we also tried out a second nav bar to navigate to other festival pages. But the problem with this was that the second nav bar made it so that the header was inconsistent compared to the other pages. And because of this, we removed the second nav bar in version 2, but we lost the landing page, so we had to settle for a short description at the top. Next slide. In this one, we brought back the landing page to give an introduction of the San Diego Festival, and we got rid of the second nav bar completely and moved all the festivals to the drop-down part of our nav bar. And we also added an interactive map that lights up different regions when hovering, so users can see like what festival is celebrated where. And there's also a pop-up that shows up when you hover over, and users can interact with this to go to the festival pages as well. And some other updates are that we added an overview section so that users didn't have to scroll through the whole um, page to understand what the festival was about. Next slide.
Yeah, now we'll be going into how we landed on our visual design direction. So we started with the mood board to gather inspiration for the website. The two directions that we considered is a traditional soft aesthetic with more Asian motifs, and then a contemporary one where we explore more with like playful and modern visual styles. According to our surveys and our competitive analysis, we saw that a lot of participants like are already familiar with traditional festival elements, so we decided to go for a more contemporary direction to deliver like a more fresh perspective on the things that they're familiar on. Next slide. So for our typography, the goal is to balance tradition with readability. So our primary font is Playfair Display, just to convey tradition there, and then our secondary font is Notice Sans because it supports the multiple languages that are displayed throughout the website. And then for our body text, we chose Roboto just for clear readability amongst a dark screen. Next. Next slide. And then for our color palette, we chose to go through the dark mode to reflect like the nighttime festival atmosphere. So our base is this charcoal color and it's contrasted with the white moonish color. And then for our accent color, we chose red just because that's a consistent color that's like scattered throughout all the festivals. And our secondary color palette highlights each of the festival's unique moods and themes. So next slide. Okay. Yeah. So this is kind of how it all looks together. Our central theme is the bitmap inspired visuals, and then the reason why we went with this one is because as like pixels come together to form a cohesive image, the Autumn Moon Festival that's being hosted in San Diego brings all these diverse cultures together to create a shared celebration.
So now just quickly going through our copy, we mainly focused on inclusive language and educational tone in our copy and covered the history, traditions, and food of each festival. And as we interviewed more stakeholders, we changed and added information to the copy, and most found that the content was easily accessible and digestible. You can go to the next slide. Yeah.
Great. Oh. Perfect. So now getting into user testing. Our user testing sessions were specifically designed to verify four main user experience pillars. Next slide, please, Marty. The first pillar was the aesthetic and the emotional experience that users go through when they first see our website, which mainly focuses on the visual design. The second pillar is the trust-centered experience that our users must count on, which is mostly based off of the copywriting of our website. The third pillar is the efficacy of our information architecture, which focuses on the organizational layout of our website. And then the fourth pillar is the usability and interaction experience that our website creates, which focuses on the user's ability to intuitively navigate throughout our website. Next slide, please. So after conducting 4 user testing sessions and analyzing the data, we uncovered areas of opportunities in our website and acted on them. First, users informed us of a lack of correlation between our images, our copywriting, and our captions, which is why we swapped out some of our images and captions in order to properly represent our educational write-ups. Secondly, users informed us of some accents that were missing and cultural terminology that was missing from our copy, which pushed us to ask our user testers and cultural organization leaders to read over our copywriting to ensure accuracy and any supplementary terms. Thirdly, users conveyed a sense of confusion when reading non-English words that they didn't recognize, which gave us the future possible idea of adding annotations and phonetic spellings to improve the readability of these words. And fourthly, users really struggled with the interaction of our map since there was dual scrolling conflicts and there were no labels, and users had to click on the region in order to see the festival preview, which is how we ended up with the eventual design of having the preview show when the user just hovered over the region. Next slide, please. And so at the end of our testing session, our main question was, did we accomplish our main goal? Which was yes, because at the beginning of our testing sessions, we asked users to rate their familiarity and awareness of the autumn moon festivities on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not familiar at all and 5 being very familiar. But on average, user scores increased by 1.125 points, showing that our website was effective at bringing awareness to the history, traditions, and practices of other cultures, festivals with sincerity, sensitivity, and respect.
And I think my Figma glitched, so we're going to go back a little bit to the development.
Yeah. Just because we're running low on time, I'll just highlight a few things. So, pretty consistently, I focused on the height, so like viewport height, so that users would know to scroll, and see the rest of the page. And then I also made sure that text was sticky so that it remained consistent, including the nav bar, and that it would highlight when users would go over the links. And you can go to the next slide. And then, yeah, so as I said, keeping consistent viewport height so that users know to scroll, and then using components to standardize all of the festival pages, and then keeping text content sticky so that it stays within the section and keeps the page consistent. And yeah.
So we did not have time to complete all of our goals for the program. So here are some next steps that we would want to take. So we would add phonetic pronunciation and native script like suggested from our user testing, finish the development of our event pages, and explore user-driven curation of images like how we wanted to in our initial mission statement that was driven by research.
And then just quickly brushing over our GTM strategy, we plan on our main objective of this would be to let people know that our website exists and inform them of its educational cultural benefit. And the primary ways we want to do this is social media, partnership with NPOs and student clubs that we worked with during this process, and also other culture clubs on campus, email/newsletters, and any other subscription-based services that students and faculty use, and collaboration with existing San Diego organizations. And our plan would be to advertise from mid-September through October and aim for for multiple posts across diverse platforms. And the ways, next slide, please. And the ways that we would measure this would be page views, duration, click-through rate, bounce rate, and also traffic sources, aka where our audience is coming from.
And that's our product. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. That was great. I know I was really impressed by your deep dive research, especially because I know Alan talks about it a lot. And so your guys' research was super in-depth, super insightful. So now we have about a minute. It did run a little bit long. So if we have like a minute for anyone to share their open floor feedback, or if anyone just has any comments or praises in general, either you guys can just go ahead and unmute or drop it in the chat. I know a lot of people are already saying they loved it in the chat, so. Okay, if not, we can go on and move on to our second group. Okay, so next up we have UXcelerator. The upgraders for this team, we have Raylene as our project manager, Alice as our UI UX designer, Krisha as the visual designer, Mia as the UX researcher, and then Shreya as the software engineer. And then this team was also mentored by Alan. So whenever you guys are ready, you guys have the floor.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay, so we're UXcelerator. Our mentor was Alan Tran, and then our members were, myself, Raylene, Alice Ma, Krisha Bhagat, Mia Jen, and Shreya Higher Math.
For our project overview, we realized that UCSD cognitive science students lack clear, centralized guidance on the major, leaving them to be having a struggle while navigating requirements and career path through fragmented resources and peer word of mouth. Next. So we came up with our problem statement as how might we create a centralized website integrated with Notebook LM and an AI-powered assistant to help UCSD cognitive students easily access their resources, plan their academic path, and connect coursework to their career opportunities.
Okay, so to just provide a quick roadmap of our project, our main goal was to create a conceptualization of an LLM-based website, which can help cognitive science students at UCSD to navigate the major, specifically for those undergrads who are just starting out, switch majors, or are transfers. Our research focused on familiarizing ourselves with LLM tools, how to train them, and so on. And then after our basic research, we would shift to choosing an AI tool to start training. As far as user research goes, we focused on running online interviews with UCSD cognitive science undergrads and alumni so we can identify our product's main target points. And during the LLM training process, we hope to feed the tool any relevant files, documents, or links that were related with the UCSD cognitive science courses, programs, and general information about them. And finally, we plan on creating wireframes and hi-fi prototypes of our LLM-based websites so we can get a rough idea of what the website would look like and how it would function if it were to exist. Okay, so after setting the scope of our project, we wanted to narrow down our target audience and user group. So given the population that we had access to, we decided to center our current research to produce a product for UCSD cognitive science design students, especially newer students who were still kind of just figuring out how to plan classes, find syllabi, and also just access advising information. And in the future, we hope that this project will continue and expand to undergrads in CogSci more broadly, which will allow students to quickly access information that can set them up for academic success.
For our user research, we decided to focus on UCSD cognitive science design and specialization in design major students, and we mixed those who entered directly and those who switched in, as CogSci has a very big group of those individuals. And for a method, we chose to do an in-depth interview guided by semi-structured questions, and we used affinity mapping to cluster insights into themes that we could analyze.
Sorry, after our research, we found that a majority of students found their information through the CogSci website, word of mouth, as well as the cognitive science course catalog to research and learn more about the cognitive science major. So based on these findings, we wanted to implement these into our LLM, and so that we would implement them into our LLM so that it's trained on these types of websites and documents, and also put into our final design. That way that we can fix the pain points, that anyone who wants to join the cognitive science major, can find the resources more easily. And yeah, so we considered these into our final design.
So, we did some LLM research and we tried to figure out which large language model that we wanted to use. So we noted that Notebook LM is really good at areas involving management, analysis, or studying, and that we can also use it for external and internal resources. Claude is better in writing intensive fields or coding. And then Perplexity is like a search engine that provides fast and trustworthy information. So that's kind of some of the research that we did. And then if we go to the next slide, we have some concluding insights. So we said that Claude might not be the best option just because of the hallucination and information inaccuracy at times. And Perplexity could be a good option to consider besides Notebook LM just because it has a little more creative freedom while maintaining the low hallucination. And we also said that AI is capable of hallucination and is often unreliable,
but Notebook LM has source grounding. And so we finally decided to go with Notebook LM.
Okay, so now that we chose Notebook LM as our final selection, it was time to train it. So we started off the training process by searching for any accessible resources such as course syllabi, project guides, and general course information that we currently had with us or was available on the CSD website. And after we had our sources ready, we moved on to compiling each cognitive science course into group documents to save space for training. So basically, we created one document that had information from COGS courses 1 through 10, and then another that contained information of COGS classes 11 through 20, and etc. And then finally, we inserted any other important links from the official UCSD website and COGS sci department into the notebook. And we also have a short snippet of Notebook LM to give you guys kind of an idea what it can do. So we basically just asked it to help us decide which specialization to choose if we are interested in art and technology. And is the video?
Yeah, it's playing.
Okay, sorry. On my screen it wasn't. Okay.
That's okay.
But yeah, so basically the LLM just recommends the design and interaction specialization, and then it goes ahead and lists reasons why to choose it, along with providing courses that align with your interests. Okay, so after training the LLM, we created a high fidelity prototype of how our product will incorporate Notebook LM into an all-in-one student guide.
So here our first main feature is the advising assistant, an AI chatbot that acts as a UCSD counseling to give students direct answers for questions they need. So here's the video that demonstrates its functionalities. The student can basically type in any question that they have, and the assistant will respond with accurate and specific information based on the data that we've trained our LLM with. Yeah, so okay, yeah. And then for this next feature, we have the four-year plan generator, where students can basically choose a specialization they're in within cognitive science, along with their college and academic interests, and a four-year plan, which is automatically generated. What differentiates this tool from UCSD's existing four-year tool planner is the autofill option, which automatically fills in GE or elective slots with actual courses based on the available course options. So this gives students a much clearer direction as to planning courses as opposed to the general four-year plan provided by UCSD's website. And next we move on to alumni advice. This is advice that is offered from alumni in the cognitive science department. It kind of works like a chatbot, but also an FAQ where you can click on a prompt and then you put the question in and it gives you feedback and basically generalized like advice that a majority of CogSci alumni gave. And a lot of these resources come from like distinct people on LinkedIn or professors that give off this advice. And then the next one is course information. This is basically giving you the course information on the different CogSci classes, so you can learn more about them and what they're about. You can sort it through upper division, lower division, as well as the specializations. So you could see the list of the different specializations and learn more and what you're going to do in that class.
Okay, so for our constraints and obstacles, the first one was that Notebook LM does not have a public API key. So this means that we are unable to develop an existing external website that is also integrated with Notebook LM. And this is also one of the main reasons why we decided to do a conceptualization of our website instead of actually creating a developed website. And then the second constraint was that we are using the free version of Notebook LM to train it. So this means that we have limited space in regards to how much information we can actually feed it. One notebook can only take up to 50 sources, and each source cannot exceed around 500,000 words. So that is why we also decided to group our documents earlier. The third reason, or the third constraint, was that sources are limited to what the team members have access to. So this does cause certain courses to have more saturated info than others, and Notebook LM won't have all the answers related to each and every cognitive science course. Fourth, we have slightly insufficient amount of user research, and this is just because our interviews were conducted online, but more than that, it's because the sample size is not fully representative of the entire cognitive science undergrad population at UCSD, which is why the results and our product outcomes may be slightly skewed or favored towards design and interaction. And then fifth, we are limited to a 10-week timeline. So we are working with something completely new, like an AI tool, which is why we can only gain so much progress that time can allow. So this type of project is very research heavy than others and requires more time, especially when it comes to developing a fully working product. So, but we are still proud of all the progress that we have made in this short time. And then finally, we cannot invest money into this project again because the project is not ongoing. So the same team will not be able to work on its completion in the future. And then another factor is that we don't know if the next team who takes on this project would be willing to invest their own money into its completion. So
Yeah, for our reflection and moving forward, we want to implement the design to an actual website with the embedded link to the Notebook LM on with all resources, conduct user testing after we implement that, and then create a marketing and outreach strategy to ensure that UCSD CogSci students can actually utilize this website for their benefit. Yeah, next. And thank you so much. That was it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, Alan, for helping us out with this project. He's been really helpful.
yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, congrats to you guys. Again, super impressive. Um, I know you guys mentioned how you were like limited to the free version of the Notebook LM, but like even with that and like still being able to like train the LM and everything that you were able to like produce from it and having like a consolidated place for everything, I thought it was super cool and really impressive. So, amazing job to you guys. We can go ahead and open the floor if anyone has any additional comments or praises for the team. I see everyone's like putting stuff in the chat again, so if anyone wants to also unmute, but you can also just leave comments down there as well. Yeah. Okay. If not, we can go ahead and move on to our next team. Okay, so next up we have Fantastic Four, and our upgraders for this team are Irene, who's our project manager, Rachel and Kyle, who are our UI UX designers, Ellen, who's our UX researcher, Philip, who's the product marketing manager, Shruti, who's our software engineer, and then Amina, who's the visual designer. And so then this team was also mentored by Paula. So whenever you guys are ready, you can go ahead and share.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yeah.
Go 1 second. I'm gonna make it full screen for everybody and then we could start. Right, so hi everyone, we're Team Fantastic Four and this is our project Ballot Bud. So like we mentioned earlier, I'm Irene, I'm the project manager, and this is the amazing team behind our project. And then we had, of course, our mentor Paula. This is just a brief overview of what we got done in the 10 weeks, so you can see kind of all of our progress and the steps. And we started by noticing that voting is a civic duty that many young people eagerly wait to exercise once they turn 18. However, they found that voting isn't as simple as it seems. Between confusing deadlines, jargon-filled ballot measures, and limited access to clear, unbiased resources, all of these often leave first-time voters unprepared when it matters the most. So we asked ourselves, how might we provide clear, nonpartisan, and personalized voting information that helps young and first-time voters feel informed, confident, and motivated to participate in every election?
So moving on with user research, we wanted to step into the shoes of voters. So we start with our primary research to gain insights into the US voter landscape and explore people's current behaviors and attitudes towards voting. So we surveyed 55 people, most of them who are based in California. which gave us a good insight into a key voter base. And most of them, 76%, were voters between the ages of 18 to 24, many who were voting for the first time. And in addition to these surveys, we also conducted more in-depth user interviews with 5 users, which helped us identify what young and new voters struggled with in the voting process and explore how we can make them feel more confident and prepared when it comes to voting. And from these user interviews, we noticed that the same issues kept coming up, like 4 of the 5 users had struggled with understanding the political jargon and ballot language. 4 to 5 also often got their information from social media outlets, and 3 out of 5 users often would pay more attention to federal elections compared to local ones. And here are some key quotes from our user interviews. Like one interviewee mentioned they had a hard time just monitoring their voting, like knowing if they had actually voted for something or turned things in on time. Another interviewee who was a first-time voter felt unsure throughout the whole process and felt that reading all the voting information just felt like a big wall of text that was very difficult to digest. And so we analyzed these survey responses using affinity mapping, and we were able to organize and synthesize our research into clusters. And through this process, we identified key recurring themes such as clarity, trust, guidance, and accessibility. And these highlighted the core factors that were influencing people's voting experiences. And so after combing through these responses and connecting the themes, we found 3 main pain points. And so first, there was a lack of voting education for young and first-time voters, where they feel they don't have a solid understanding of what the voting process is like, where to vote, or just the role of local and state elections. And secondly, there's also a lack of centralized and unbiased voting information, as currently many resources out there are overwhelming, cluttered, and voters just have a hard time interpreting the information they're getting. And lastly, we noticed a gap between federal and local state elections, partly due to a lack of awareness of those smaller elections' impact and just overall limited accessible resources.
After conducting mostly interviews with first-time and young voters from California, we naturally decided to create a mobile website catered to keeping track of their progress, educating them about their ballot, and reminding them about incoming elections. BallotBud is an all-in-one voting companion that saves young and first-time voters from the hassle of juggling countless websites or confusing resources. By bringing election details, deadlines, and ballot explanations together in one place, we aim to help users feel prepared every time they cast their vote. To better understand our voters or users, we created personas that represent the different types of voters our platform will target. This is John Kim, a 20-year-old college student from California. He's tech-savvy and prefers voting by mail. John is still learning about the voting process and finds most of his information through social media and friends. He feels it's his civic duty to vote and cares about specific issues, but so far he's only voted in federal elections, not local or state ones. John's biggest pain point is feeling overwhelmed by information. He struggles to tell what's real versus misinformation and finds ballot language like proposition explanations overly complicated. What John really needs is clear, unbiased information, simplified ballot breakdowns, reminders to vote, and a straightforward ballot tracking system. Designing for people like John means creating a platform that cuts through the noise and helps him stay engaged and informed.
After our research, we dove into planning our user flows and making our lo-fi sketches. Our main user flows are our onboarding flow, ballot education flow, how to vote, and notifications. We wanted the process of creating an account, customizing the location, and locating information to be smooth. With these flows as our main focus, we came up with a few lo-fi sketches and pulled our ideas together. From our lo-fi sketches, we determined key features among our designs that we wanted to keep for our mid-fi prototype, like the dashboard, having a checklist with things for the user to do, and so on. After this process, we created our mid-fi prototypes.
As mentioned, the key feature we wanted was a dashboard where the user can see centralized and up-to-date election information at a glance. Next, to keep it personalized, we imagined having an onboarding page where users can modify notifications and reminders. Next, we move into our key screens, the first being a series in the form of a checklist that guides the user through necessary steps to cast their vote from registration to submission. Following that, we wanted to hone in on candidate and proposition education to help users orient themselves within the political landscape, beginning with this election overview page. and followed by then more in-depth explanations on individual candidates and propositions within specific elections. Finally, we created a comparison tool that allows users to see how candidates measure up to each other based on their stances and their projected future impacts if they were to be elected.
Phase, we went into usability testing. We interviewed 5 users and they provided both positive and negative feedback. They all liked the centralization of the information, color-coded party identifications, and useful tools such as the reminder function and the progress bar. However, there are a few issues that the users came across. First of all, there was a trend of confused navigation on the dashboard due to multiple entry points and unclear labels. Users also wanted more information and citation to where information is coming from. Accessibility issues for users to assess voting locations were also an issue because it required multiple steps and it was not clear on how to get to these information. Last but not least, there was unclear features as users were confused about certain functions and buttons and what they led to. After reviewing these test results, we concluded a few major pain points to address that voters often find difficult or confusing throughout the testing process, leading to new decisions. We created clearer navigation by simplifying the navigation process from the dashboard and making the functionality of the buttons easier to understand. This is addressing the confusing labels and entry points. In addition, to allow easier access to information, we edited the dashboard to allow a more streamlined process for users in order to address accessibility issues and future frustrations. Last but not least, we also added more detailed information such as candidate profile links and providing creditable sources, along with providing information along with improving the information architecture to allow better learning experience for voters, addressing trustworthiness of the site and the requested information from testers.
We put all of this feedback from our testing into our prototype and hi-fis. So first is our onboarding screen, which is quick and simple without any tedious customization. And a zip code is the only thing needed for users to have a customized voting page. Next is our dashboard and landing page with the ballot education function placed at the top, which walks through all the candidates and propositions of the upcoming election, including details like their stances, effects, and comparisons, as well as the voting checklist, which is personalized to each user and guides them through the voting process, allowing even first-time users to have a smooth voting process. And then attached to this dashboard is the election calendar, as keeping up with many deadlines and dates is difficult, so we implemented a simple calendar tool that lets users see them all in one place. Next is the voting checklist, which is a comprehensive in-depth guide that breaks down information into steps, as well as links voters to the external resources they need to complete their voting. As they go through each step, the dashboard is updated to reflect their progress. Next is the ballot review page, where the user is able to save their voting choices for propositions and candidates and review them in a succinct manner on this page. Next is in-app guidance to better inform users about the candidates and propositions without complex political jargon. This educational guide is implemented. Within this guide is a comparison tool that allows users to understand and see what each candidate cares for and what they bring to the table. This includes their stances, which is put into simple language, as well as a what winning means summary of what the candidate promises to deliver in the position they're running for. Also in this tool is a proposition education page, which expands on what each measure means and does, and its potential impacts, and what a yes or no vote means to help voters better understand their choices.
After finalizing our high-fidelity prototype, we'll be going to the development phase. Our focus in development will be building a functional website. The overall goal during the development phase is to have a good front end that is based on what we've designed so far, and a functional back end that is secure enough for high usage and data. A key factor that we'll be keeping in mind during this development phase is necessity for security, since we want to maintain the integrity and unbiased nature of our product. After the first cycle of development, we hope to have a minimum viable product to publish. These next steps include setting up the environment, programming core features, user testing to make sure all our designs still work, and keep refining as we launch. During this experience, we learned a lot about research, design, testing, and teamwork. This project has its challenges, but we were able to overcome them by iterating and focusing on the problem we're trying to solve. Overall, it was a great experience going through the full design cycle, working through challenges, and growing together as a team. Thank you.
Yay! Well, awesome job, everyone. I know I got to see this team's project when you guys are still doing your user testing, so it's really cool to see the final implementation and prototype. So, amazing job. We can open the floor to any feedback or any commentary, or you guys can drop it in the chat again. Awesome. Okay, perfect. Well, if that's all for that team, once again, amazing job, everyone. We can move on to our next team, which is Tailblazers. So in this team, we have Jik Young as the project manager, Sylvie as the UI UX designer, Andy as the visual designer, David as our UX researcher, Min as our project marketing manager, and then Alexa as a software engineer. And then this team was mentored by Taria. So whenever you guys are ready.
Yep, I'll quickly share my screen. So our team was Team 5, the Tailblazers, and this is our team, and our mentor was Taria. So our prompt was to design a daily operations platform for small veterinary clinics that coordinates patient care, inventory, and staff scheduling. And before we could even think about building a solution, we knew we had to deeply understand the real-world challenges faced by veterinary clinics every single day. We didn't want to rely on assumptions. We wanted to ground our project in real data and real conversations. To do this, we took a two-pronged approach. First, we designed and distributed targeted surveys to vets and their staff. This allowed us to cast a wide net and gather quantitative data, helping us see which problems were the most common and widespread across the industry. But we knew numbers alone don't tell the whole story, so for the second part of our research, we did direct outreach. We picked up the phone and called multiple animal hospitals to speak one-on-one with the people on the front lines. These conversations were incredibly valuable, giving us context, the personal stories, and the why behind the survey data. So what did all of this research tell us? The feedback was remarkably consistent, and it all pointed to one central source of frustration: their software. We distilled the feedback into three core problems. First, the systems they use are outdated and inefficient. We heard about software that was slow, prone to crashing, and felt like a relic from a different decade. Instead of helping them, staff felt they were constantly fighting against a tool that was holding them back. Second, the interface is overly complex. The phrase we heard over and over again was too many tabs. Users told us they felt overwhelmed by cluttered screens and confusing navigations, making it difficult to find the information they needed quickly. And finally, this all boils down to one simple fact: the software is just not easy to use. Simple, everyday tasks require too many clicks, and this isn't just a minor annoyance. It's a major drain on time and energy, leading to daily frustration and taking focus away from what truly matters: caring for the patients. And these are the critical problems we set out to solve.
And for our approach, we first started off with user research. We looked at the daily operations inside small veterinary clinics. Utilizing AI deep research, we were able to map out workflows across scheduling, patient records, inventory, and pain points. What stood out was the number of redundant tasks, like staff entering the same information in multiple systems, and how outdated tools slow down even routine check-ins. These friction points gave us a foundation for where Intravet could genuinely save time and reduce stress. For next slide. Here you can see our use of prompt engineering in order to yield a vast amount of information, which we were able to synthesize into affinity diagramming and other methods, which helped our team break down big amounts of data and carry it through with our project. Next slide, please. When trying to create a better, already existing tool, it was natural that we analyze the tools clinics are already using. Avamark and EasyVet are widely used, but their interfaces look and feel outdated. Covetrus Pulse might be more modern, but its complexity puts it out of reach for smaller clinics, limited staff, meaning less time to train new staff. Each of the many platforms we researched showed us the gaps. Clinics need a system that balances usability, depth, something powerful enough to manage daily operations, but also simple enough that they can still get their work done. Aesthetics and functionality were major drivers, which will be seen in a couple of slides. Next slide, please. Once again, we were able to use deep research in order to get large amounts of info. And due to that, we were able to bring real voices into the process by first starting out with sending out surveys. It helped bridge the gap between online vet experiences and vets right here in San Diego. Across roles, both online and from the surveys, theme was clear. Fewer clicks, clearer navigation, and tools that fit their fast pace that aren't fragmented. From these insights, we created personas like the multitasking receptionist managing phone calls and scheduling, and the busy vet tech moving between exam rooms, so our designs can stay grounded in actual clinic roles. Next slide, please. Using tools like Otter AI to transcribe and manual note take while the users were walked through the task, users overall found dashboard and navigation intuitive, but labels caused confusion. One participant thought the hub was for messaging and not for tasks, and overall, the positive side was that users loved seeing inventory alerts directly on their dashboard. These insights told us what to refine, what to simplify, what to adjust, and moreover, what to see more of. And you'll see that in the following slides.
Okay, for our logo name, we started a brainstorming process by identifying 3 key requirements, such as pet and veterinary terminology that would resonate with our target audience, then technology integration to reflect our digital solutions, and professional sounding names that would build trust with both veterinarians and pet owners. So with their brainstorming session, we generated numerous creative options like Fuzzy Tech, Whisker Works, Simply Paws, as well as more professional combinations like Vet Tech, Positive Tech, and Whiscore. And after extensive evaluation, Intervet emerged as our clear choice, and which this name perfectly captures our dual identity with Inter representing internet connectivity and digital innovation, while Vet anchors us firmly in the veterinarian world. Next slide. With that, we began the creative process of bringing Intervet to life visually, in which our logo iteration focused heavily on the letter I, in which we switched the dot with a paw print and connected it with the Wi-Fi symbol. With the integration, we tested various combinations to find the balance between tech and veterinary elements. And then with our color scheme, we primarily use blue as the main color and then accent yellow with warmth and approachability for pet owners with supporting colors such as dark neutrals, pure white, and secondary greens, in which style guide ensures consistency with typography hierarchy with from display to extra small, multiple logo variations, and clear color specifications for all applications. Next.
So moving on to our solution, introducing the Intervet platform. Next slide, please. So based off our research, we began with wireframe for both staff and vet views. At this stage, we focused mainly on structure, like the workflows, the navigation, and the features that we wanted. And this gave us a strong foundation for like our next step. Next, please. From there, we moved into our low fidelity mockups. Here we worked on layout and hierarchy while keeping the design modern, clean, and simple, which to help it stand out with other platform. And the goal was to test ideas quickly and refining them together as a team. Next, please. And then we advanced to mid and high fidelity designs. At mid-fi, we tested and refined consistency with color, typography, and spacing across the screens. In hi-fi, we added clickable prototypes so that we could experience flows realistically. And next slide. Moving on to user testing, which this section gives us a lot of valuable insight. Here's some major change that we made for the platform. And first, for the vet appointment screen, while the design was simple and clear, one user mentioned they wanted to, next please. They wanted to get a feel for the day, the volume of patients, and what you need to prepare. Next, please. And so that told us the design was actually way too simple. And so we added a total number of appointment for the day. As you can see here, the filter type appointment and icons to make appointment tab easier to scan. Next, please. And for the staff appointment section, our initial idea used like a calendar view type, but one user did recommend like a different approach saying, next, please. The doctor name usually at the top and with time on the left. And next, please. Based on that, we redesigned the calendar so that, can you go back one slide? One slide. And based on that, we redesigned the calendar so that names appear across the top like this one, each with their own appointment section, and time indicators run along the left. This makes scheduling clearer and more familiar for the user. Next, please. Another area where we received most feedback was the inventory screen for like both views. There wasn't so much about the visual layout, but more about the financial context, like why they're using it. A user highlighted, next please. It shows how much you spend versus how much you're selling, and well, you obviously trying to get like the estimate of your profit margin. And so, next please. With limited time, we unfortunately weren't able to fully explore like exactly what profit margin, like how do we visualize it, but we did add like 2 extra columns on the list and a sliding detail panel for the items and a color-coded bar graph for like highlighting like profit differences. Next please. And here, the final design we landed on with a prototype right next to it if you want to explore. And the next phase was like taking these ideas to the patient, like off the patient into real life. Next, please. Next, please.
To build out our design into a real product, we chose Bubble, which is a no-code platform for building web and mobile applications. It includes tools for drag and drop design, database management, workflow, automation, and integrations with other services, which makes it possible to create apps without traditional coding. Next slide, please. And we chose Bubble for a vet app because it allows us to manage everything in one platform, from designing the interface to storing pet and appointment data. It also supports features like task lists, chat, and staff scheduling without needing to code. And even though the platform has a slight learning curve, it gives us the flexibility to build a scalable app that can grow with future needs and new features. Next slide. And once we had a high fidelity prototype, the most critical step was to move beyond our own assumptions and test it in a real world context. To find out, we conducted a formal usability testing session with a participant who perfectly represents our target user. She's a veterinary assistant who uses the outdated software Evermark every single day. We ran a moderated session where we gave her 10 specific tasks to complete, from checking the day's appointments and managing inventory to assigning staff shifts. We didn't just watch to see if she could do it, we measured how long it took, how easy she rated each task, and most importantly, we listened to her think aloud commentary. The goal wasn't just to get a pass or fail grade, it was to uncover the small but crucial details that separate a good idea from a tool that people will actually love to use.
Now I'll be going over a little bit on our strategic framework. So our mission statement is to streamline daily operations for veterinary clinics, giving teams the tools to manage appointments, inventory, and schedules effortlessly so that they can spend less time juggling tasks and more time caring for our pets. Next slide. And then these are our 6 core values, which are compassion, reliability, efficiency, innovation, and teamwork. Next slide. We also have five main marketing objectives. We want to build awareness and credibility by positioning ourselves as the go-to all-in-one operations platform for clinics. We also want to educate the current market to show how inefficiencies cost both time and money. We want to drive user acquisition through free trials, demos, and referrals to onboard new clinics and increase engagement and retention by to ensure daily usage with smooth onboarding and training, and then also differentiate ourselves from competitors. Next slide. And our marketing strategy consists of our positioning and messaging. We want to focus our target market on small to mid-sized independent vet clinics and specialty practices. And we want to increase our digital presence through our website, SEO, and demo videos, as well as being active on social media platforms. And also considering partnerships and referral programs to expand organically. Next slide.
So the impact of this is profound. InterVet is more than just a new tool, it's a smarter way to run a clinic. It empowers staff to focus on what they're truly passionate about, caring for animals. By doing so, it helps clinics save time, elevate their patient care, and ultimately achieve their most important business goals. And this was the end of our presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Super cool. I know someone mentioned it. I think it was Joy. She mentioned it in the chat. I thought it was really cool how you guys were able to reach out to the veterinary assistants to get their feedback on your implementation. And also, I really just love the whole aesthetic of it all and how it's super informative, but also really clear and readable. So amazing job to you guys. If anyone else has any comments to share, again, everyone just putting it in the chat. Or if anyone wants to unmute. If not, we can move on to our next team. Okay, so next up we have Figcation. This team we have our upgraders who are Priya, who's our project manager, Kate and Shana, who's our UI UX designer, Manjushri, who's our visual designer, Arya, who's the UX researcher, Riley, who's the product marketing manager, and then Stephanie and Scarlett, who are our software engineers. And this team was mentored by Josh. So whenever you guys are ready, you can go for it.
Okay, hi everyone. We're Team 6, Team Figcation, and I'm Priya, the project manager, and this is the rest of our team, and Josh was our mentor. So the prompt that he gave us was create a digital experience, a website, app, or both, to make it easy to plan a family vacation. So we designed All Aboard, which is a collaborative family trip planning tool aimed at families and other groups of people who want to plan trips together. Existing trip planning websites and tools like Expedia, TripAdvisor, trip blogs, etc., allow for users to plan some parts of their trip, but All Aboard includes every step from recommendations to planning in one place, providing users flexibility to plan their trip as much or as little as they want. Multiple people can collaborate, contributing to the itinerary in real time. So these are some of our features, recommendations. The website takes in user preferences through an intake form and provides tailored recommendations for flights, hotels, restaurants, and activities based on the information the user provides. Users can organize trip ideas creatively on the freeform whiteboard. Everyone going on the trip can vote on itinerary items and see all the trip info in one place on the dashboard. So this is voting, and they can plan the itinerary collaboratively in real time. Itinerary includes transportation, and the user can view their trip in varying level of details according to their preferences and their needs.
Okay, now for our preliminary research, this is what we found. We surveyed and interviewed a total of 38 families to understand how they plan trips, and we found that caregivers almost always tend to lead the planning, especially with young kids, though as kids grow older into their teenage years, they start to contribute more.
And families told us that planning is stressful, specifically balancing time, money, and keeping everyone happy. And the biggest pain points that we found were that transportation, safety, and health concerns, and language barriers. And when it comes to tools, we found that families rely mainly on Google, social media, and friends rather over than travel-specific apps, which told us that current tools don't feel trustworthy or personal enough. And right now, families are overwhelmed by fragmented and untrustworthy information, and caregivers are left carrying the stress of making all these decisions. And from our researchers, families say that they want instead clear, family-friendly guidance. So, recommendations they can trust, example itineraries, and visual guides that make trips easier to navigate. And through our competitive analysis, we found that existing solutions provide certain solutions to some of these problems, but not all of the problems. And so this highlighted an opportunity for us to design something that reduces caregiver stress and makes planning more collaborative and reliable to help achieve the ultimate goal of freeing families up to focus on what really matters to them, which is enjoying their time and making memories.
So for our early development, we identified three main features that we could implement to solve some of the main problems we found through our user research. And that would be recommendations, planning, and visualization. So for recommendations, we found that it would be most helpful if they were personalized, easy to sort, and come from sources that the user trusts, whether that is their friends and family or social media. And then in terms of planning, on top of creating dynamic itineraries, having it be easy to update and including relevant information is something that we thought would be helpful. And then additionally, to visualize it outside of just a calendar style itinerary, we thought that a map view would also be helpful for the user to like literally visualize their trip. And then from there, we began sketching and just creating like first ideas of what the site would look like. And then moving on to our lo-fi wireframes, we incorporated our three initial main features into the design system while also being sure to experiment with our flow. And so we pretty much just corrected and came together and made all of our features. And then moving on to our design system. For our design system, we wanted to balance the playfulness of family travel website with a clean and modern look. And so our color palette, it ranges from blues to warm corals, which is inspired by travel iconography. And then when it came to coming up with our logo, we created our all aboard logo, which has the little paper plane to help unify our group travel branding.
Now onto our prototypes. So here is the dashboard, and it's made up of customizable bento boxes where you can keep track of your itinerary, polls, and other key elements all in a glance. It's flexible and visual, and it's designed for collaboration without friction. Next. Okay. And this is our itinerary page where it lets you build out your day visually, and you can drag and drop places or activities from the sidebar, which are filled with personal recommendations. It's collaborative, so anyone in the family can help shape the day, and so that there's less texting back and forth and more actual planning. And once you've built your itinerary, our map view helps you see how everything connects geographically. It makes sure that you're not planning breakfast in one town and lunch 2 hours away by accident. It's a simple but powerful way to stay efficient and reduce travel fatigue, especially when traveling with young kids. And here is what we call the playground or our playground for the app. It's a freeform idea space. Think like a digital whiteboard. So you can leave sticky notes or throw in stickers and collaborate with others without any real structure. Whether you're collecting ideas for places to eat or letting the kids decide on their dream activities, this space will allow you to grow with your planning. And there's also this organized view to help you sort through the chaos when you're ready to lock your plans in.
So moving on to like the more technical parts of like finding where to go on your travel, we created a recommendations page that like really addresses the trust factor that we found in our user research. So these recommendations are all based on like what the user personally trusts already. For example, if they want to focus on their own circle more or they use TikTok to find their results, we made sure to have that like indicated on our different recommendation items. And then we additionally have a more like map view of the recommendations. So you're able to like kind of plan your trip based on if you need like a car, if you're in a country that has more public transport. That would also help with that. And then our next feature is kind of like our polls category. So the main purpose of this was to make decision making more involved and easier, especially for families with kids or even if they just want to have that. So there's like a main poll feature with different options, like such as you can pick a single choice poll or like maybe a this or that. And there are additionally like funner games like a travel bingo or Pictionary. So this is just what it would look like if someone would propose an event and you're able to vote, and it shows like the commuting factor along with like other details as well. So after we had our mid-fidelity done, we did some usability testing, and we found that like the first thing we found was that people that we asked, they all wanted different things on their homepage. So we decided to make it a more like widget style homepage so the user can pick exactly what they want to see when they would first open the website. And then the next thing was that people wanted more like continuity with their recommendations, like they wanted to have it saved so they can put it on their itinerary. So we added in a search and save feature on the recommendations page.
Okay, so now we're just gonna quickly go through like a mock user flow of what it would look like if you were to plan a trip using this website. So this is the first dashboard page where it shows all your trips, current and your past ones. You would just click the plus button to add a new trip, and there's the new trip questionnaire that has a bunch of information about where you're going and how much planning you've already done, who's going on the trip, etc. You can add in however much information you already have planned, any preferences you have about the trip, import sources from online that you want integrated into the recommendations. And then from there, it will take you to the recommendations page where you can scroll through. You can click on specific categories to view those in more detail, look at the map view, toggle back and forth. There's also different like categories that you can look between on the top here. And then from there, you can go to your home dashboard page where you can see all of the information on your dashboard. So like this user has the itinerary, polls, and recent activity. And so you can like view your full itinerary by clicking this button or by just clicking the itinerary tab to view it in the full view. And there's the calendar view, the map view, and also the list view. So you can see your itinerary in a lot of different ways. You can go back to the recommendations from this sidebar, view the playground to organize your ideas, throw ideas around creatively. So this is also the organize view. There's just a little button on the bottom here they can toggle between to put the sticky notes in different categories. And then you can also access the polls page from the sidebar to be able to see all the poll activity or create a poll to propose your own event. So for example, you can just input all of the information about what you want the event to be, what you want to do, and start a poll. So that's just kind of like a mock layout of what a user journey might look like using this website to plan a trip.
And then we have the site actually deployed at allaboard2025.netlify.app if you want to check it out. And then since we are a bit short on time to just go over the technical implementation pretty quickly, we set up the backend using Node.js and collected mock data in JSON files to use for the recommendations page, mostly just restaurants and activities to recommend to the users. And then once the mid-fi designs were completed, we used Angular, which is a TypeScript-based framework, to set up the dashboard and all of its tabs. And then from there, we just linked together all of the pages and displayed the data from the backend. And then in terms of what's next, we would like to make it like fully functional if we had the time, and then also make it more adaptable for different devices.
For the future of All Aboard, given more time for this project, we would refine the features by refining its style guide, creating a more cohesive brand. During the early stages, it would have been helpful to conduct a few more interviews alongside follow-ups, and from there we would have a more detailed documentation for further development. Going forward, we would complete the prototype, continue user testing, and conduct a beta testing period for feedback on the live site. To reflect, our greatest strength came from our collaboration. We were all able to assign different tasks and roles and communicated through multiple meetings a week and met with our mentor, Josh. In doing so, we could discuss different features and pitch our own ideas, all while coming to a consensus for the final product. Overall, we completed the basic requirements of our project, and our collaboration ultimately improved the end product.
Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, that was our presentation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Your guys' presentation was actually so good. You all should be really proud of yourselves. I loved the aesthetic of everything, and it was all super functional, and you guys like just put so much thought into it. So great job to this team. I know everyone's sending all their congrats in the chat, so yeah, super impressive. Okay, awesome. And now we are on to our last team, last but not least. We have Sweetmates. And so our upgraders for this team are Vivian as the project manager, Jamie as the UI UX designer, Lorena as the visual designer, Sally as the UX researcher, and then Travis as our software engineer. And then this team was mentored by Michelle. So whenever you guys are ready, you can take it away.
Thank you. Okay, I think we can get started. So, hi everyone. My name is Vivian, and this is our case study on Full Sweep, which is an app dedicated to help young adults develop lasting habits for maintaining a cleaner space. And with me is my team, Sally, Jamie, Lorena, and Travis. So for a little overview of our project, over the past 10 weeks, we worked to address a problem for young adults and how they struggle to maintain cleaner living spaces. So with this, we built a more digital solution focused on making everyday tidying feel effortless. We started by asking a simple question. So what made it hard to keep a home clean, and how do people really feel about clean homes? And we found out that people's struggles weren't just being messy, but it was more so behavioral. And while some Reddit users described feeling the joy after cleaning, other Reddit users added on that they would often feel overwhelmed by cleaning unless they started to immediately put things back after they use it. And overall, these conversations were definitely eye-opening for us to know that human behaviors around cleaning were more than just physical. So we broke down and expanded our research to find out why people clean. And so from the American Cleaning Institute survey, around 88% of people agreed that having a clean home helped them feel their best and for their overall well-being. However, on the other hand, we also uncovered a clear gap between intending to have a tidy space, but also taking action for that. And despite 76% of people saying how cleaning made them feel less stressed, over 82% of adults felt guilt or shame when their home wasn't clean. And this kind of created a cycle where the shame of a messy space kind of prevented them from taking that initial first step to cleaning. So who do we want to help the most? And for this, we specifically targeted students and young adults because they face challenges such as how almost 50% of young adults are now living independently. So that meant they didn't really have that same family structure from when they lived in before. And additionally, over 80% of them had overwhelming schedules due to other priorities, and 39 of them don't even start cleaning due to that stress. So from this, we realized that the solution that we had to build had to be both flexible and very empathetic to these life realities. So after deeply understanding our user struggles, we asked ourselves one core question. How might we empower young adults to build consistent habits by supporting them in balancing their responsibilities while maintaining a cleaner environment?
Through our research, we found that many are evidently affected by their busy schedules and the mental burden of clutter. There is a clear need for a sustainable habit that helps maintain a tidy living environment, and achieving a sense of peace and accomplishment is crucial for their well-being. We conducted a survey involving 61 participants and 9 user interviews to gather some insight. 82% of respondents indicated that their cleaning habits declined due to responsibilities like school, work, or caregiving. Additionally, 79% mentioned they maintain a clean space primarily for aesthetic and health benefits. To further explore the root of these statistics, we made an affinity diagram using user quotes to identify common needs and pain points. 28 respondents said they're more likely to clean when it's quick, easy, and shows clear results. We also realized that the reason many users struggle to balance cleaning and outside duties is because they find it difficult to remember tasks. Plus, they're often drained by negative emotions like stress and fatigue. So, the big idea is that users who juggle many responsibilities feel overwhelmed, and they need guidance on how to build cleaning habits in digestible steps.
From our research and survey, 95% of respondents struggled with consistency and busy schedules, leading to a cluttered environment. And 40% felt overwhelmed with how messy a place can be, so they don't feel encouraged to start cleaning. Someone who has some of these struggles is Jane. She is a fourth-year student who feels shame with the clutter of her apartment. She feels too busy to have cleaning in her schedule, and she often feels overwhelmed with how much work and cleaning she has to do. We looked at existing apps that people like Jane would use. Some of them are Google Calendar, Sweetbeat, and Tidy. Some core features that we wanted to consider were events, color tracking, room organization, and task tracking. Apps like Streaks, Toddy, Habitica, and Tidy lacked positive reinforcement for its users. We saw that a strength we can hone in on is the streamlined onboarding process and immediate task setup, as well as multiple views and clear visual hierarchy. A core weakness we saw was in the incentives and tracking, which weren't enough to form a positive habit. And we were worried that users will develop an app dependency, which won't allow them to form independent cleaning routines.
So, taking all of our research into account, we've investigated user pain points and analyzed our competitive landscape. Given this, we introduced to you our full suite prototype, a digital tool meant to empower young adults to build lasting habits by maintaining a clean space. During the design process, I compiled all of the qualitative data to create a system of communication with the designers, as we wanted to keep our users in mind while developing effective solutions. Creating a storyboard helped me communicate with my team on what users actually go through when tackling the mental challenges and shame associated with a messy space and how Full Sweep can help them. Our storyboard focused on the big picture, while the journey map helped us visualize our users' emotional journey, which shaped our understanding of what features to create and how to create a personalized habit formation system. While there are 5 stages in total, here I've highlighted the awareness stage where users discover the app. And then in the exploration stage, users are actually interacting with the features of Full Sweep. Some sentiments were inspired by our user testing interviews.
So with the user flows, we mapped out several paths, but here I'm going to show 2 of the most important ones. This first flow shows how users add or edit a cleaning task. We simplified it so they just pick the area, choose a schedule, and decide if they want reminders. By cutting out extra steps, we made creating tasks quick and repeatable, which helps users actually stick to their routines. For starting a task, we debated showing many options versus a streamlined flow, and we chose a single decision point. Users can either mark a task complete, reschedule, or enter focus mode. By building these flows, we realized where to cut down on choices so that users can quickly get into routines without feeling overwhelmed. And our style guide set the tone for how the product feels. We defined our color palette, typography, icons, and components to ensure consistency across the app. By choosing rounded fonts, playful colors, and a fun mascot, we aim for a look that feels clean, but also motivating and approachable for our users. In our lo-fi stage, we translated user flows into screens and focused on simplifying the experience. We streamlined scheduling into a calendar format where users can quickly pick a time block and add details. We also gave users 2 clear ways to view tasks, by day or by room, to reduce confusion. These wireframes helped us validate the core functionality before moving into high. Then after building our prototypes, we ran usability testing to validate our design choices. We thought the feature around room-based organization might feel limiting, but users liked it and even wanted more flexibility. This showed us where to simplify while still giving users more control.
In terms of feedback, 2/3 of our users affirmed that they liked our motivational tone and simple design. We also redirected our attention to improve visual cues, increase accessibility, and reduce redundancy within task creation flow in future reiterations.
Now introducing Full Sweep. When developing this web app, I used Claude AI and ChatGPT 5 And I prioritize being consistent with the design layout, building the home and task page, implementing connections, the master wireframes, and maintaining consistency with high five prototypes. And I use an iterative process to do this.
Now let's dive deeper into our hi-fi prototypes. So we start with onboarding, which directs users to the home screen. And this was carefully designed to reduce the overwhelm of seeing too many cleaning tasks at a time. It provides a clear focus during chaotic days by only showing one priority task of the day. And additionally, 95% of survey users reported struggles with managing habit apps with other responsibilities. So unlike traditional cleaning apps that overlook this, Full Sweep lets users input their availability and adaptively schedule tasks around their free time. So we kept our schedule screen pretty simple. If the user sees a green block during a time period, it tells them that they have time to fit a cleaning task there.
In addition, recognizing that 40% of survey respondents have struggled with feelings of overwhelm to start cleaning, this data influenced us to create Focus Mode, a feature designed to help users gain momentum and eliminate decision fatigue when they don't know where to begin. In the case when overdue tasks begin to pile up, users are directed to the auto sanitize feature where they can reschedule and manage expectations, helping users turn anxiety into action.
And then, as you can see here, we also added progress celebration, which gave immediate feedback when tasks were completed. This helped us build momentum for habit formation in our users after the result of continuous encouragement.
So with our research and designs implemented, what are our next steps? So we hope to continue exploring more opportunities we identify, such as when it's integrating with smart home devices to gather more health-focused data, as well as definitely conducting longer-term studies to measure habit formations. And we also want to expand on community features in the case that we do want to expand our app to encapsulate larger households. Otherwise, we'd love to extend a huge thank you to our mentor, Michelle, for her invaluable guidance and industry knowledge. We're also incredibly grateful to the DCO organizers and all the other mentors here today who created such a welcoming and beneficial environment for us. Thank you for your time and attention, and we're happy to take any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, well, awesome. Amazing presentation. Love the design layout of everything. I feel like it's super clear and super easy to organize. I also really liked the room by room organization. I think that was my favorite part of it. But yeah, amazing job. Before I hand it back to Joyce to give closing remarks, I just want to say congratulations to everyone, not only for completing the final products and everything, but even just your presentations were all amazing. And I know like with 10 weeks, it's hard to crunch everything and go through the whole process, but you all did an amazing job and everyone should be really proud of themselves, as well as our mentors that are here today. You guys did great guiding your teams, and so everyone should just be really proud of themselves. So congrats.
Yes. So moving on to our closing remarks, like Simreen said, we're all really grateful that you guys were able to participate in the first edition of this upgrade program. Next steps from here would be checking out the Upgrade 2025 website to take a look at this showcase recording that we're in right now, and to view other case studies. We also ask that you guys fill out the feedback form by tomorrow night, September 12th at 11:59 p.m. And that way we'll be able to build a better upgrade for next summer and keep things that we liked and find what works and what doesn't. So yeah. But yes, thank you guys again so much for being a part of our upgrade, both to our upgraders and our mentors. And we really hope to see you guys at future Design Co events.